Geneva, America and Belgium. I am particularly thankful to the members of the IPS for having given me this opportunity to say a few sentences before such august audience. I may introduce myself as Parvati Kumar from India. I am allowed to work with the World Teacher Trust, and I am blessed to work with a teacher like of the stature of Krishnamacharya. This evening he speaks to all of us on some basics of homeopathy. Homeopathy is a method by which he spreads his net to catch the souls that are ripe for treading the path. It was said by the Christ to his disciples, "Go out and fish out for the souls that are ripe to tread the path." In the same fashion, he was asked to fish out people who are in problems in the day-to-day life in India and elsewhere, and he spreads his wide net through the science of homeopathy. People who are ill come to him for medicine. The illness can be three types, as he has mentioned yesterday: physical, mental and something else. As they approach him with a smile from his lips and with the looks of the brilliance that he has with him, he attracts them, and as a result a few of them are recruited into the path of service. This is what I have been observing over 12 years, and I am sure this evening, with the basics of homeopathy, basically we would be caught in the net. Let all of us be hooked to the one plan, the plan which the masters know and said. Harihi Om.
Expected to deal with the basics of homeopathy. It is technical by nature. Since the lecture is intended to those who are not too technical in the particular subject, I will try to be as straight, simple and non-technical as possible. And in fact, that is the better way of introducing a subject. In any science, the technicalities do not include the science itself. Any technical terms form the skeleton of the subject, but not the flesh and blood. The unity of the subject, the synthesis of a subject exists in the human philosophy, which is basically the same everywhere. Just as any other relevant subject, homeopathy also deals with the real human values and the medical values only in a non-important and secondary way. In any scientific system of medicine, the main part of the science consists of the human values, and the unimportant part consists of the technical values. The technical part of any subject becomes the necessary limitation of the subject. It is the same with homeopathy also. Yesterday, I talked something about homeopathy when I spoke about the three ways of understanding a disease and health. Now, the basic difference between the present popular way of understanding disease and health and all the other systems is that the popular system takes disease as the main part, as the field of study, and restoring health as the secondary part of it. And all other systems, including homeopathy, deal with health as the main thing to be understood and not disease. So to say, we are familiarized with what is health and the methods to restore health and not to kill disease. That is the difference between the one system which is popular now and all the other systems, ancient and most modern. We have ancient systems and modern systems which are in agreement with what I said. That is, trying to teach to the medical student what is health and what is disease mainly. First of all, making the student understand what is natural, and then only allowing him to know that which is a distortion from the natural phenomena, and then allowing him to call it by the imaginary name disease, and in fact not encouraging him to name each disease very differently, because the name disease is enough for any disease, and it is a temporary distortion from the natural state of constitution. The more we are allowed to name different diseases definitely, the more we go into specialization of disease, and the original state of the human constitution would go out of sight gradually. So, in this respect, all the ancient and modern systems are in accordance with each other. The most ancient system called Ayurveda, it takes health as standard and disease as something distortion from the natural condition. Same thing with homeopathy. Same thing with what we call naturopathy. Same thing with the basics of dietetics. Same thing with Ekkirala, a new dimension which has sprung up from homeopathy. Same principle in acupuncture. Finding the natural stream of flow of life through vehicles and finding sensitive centers which exist as pains. Like this, all these systems are in accordance with each other to define what is health and not what is disease, to explain what is health, and to instruct us to maintain the healthy condition, and then only to allow us to know something about the cure of diseases. The one system which is popular now, which we call allopathy, teaches us directly more about disease than of health, and leads us into the labyrinths of the specializations of various diseases. It teaches us how one disease differs from the other, and how to detect a disease in its minutest manner, how to aim at it and shoot it. Since we are expected to deal with the basics of homeopathy, we pass on directly to the system that is in accordance with all the other systems. The first principle that is inculcated by the master of homeopathy is to cure the person, not to treat the disease. Unless we keep it in mind as the top heading, we fail to do justice when we start the homeopathic way of treating. If your friend asks if there is a medicine for toothache in homeopathy, you are expected to answer that there is no medicine for toothache if you are a true homeopath. But if you give him the name of a medicine for toothache, you will be unfailingly understood as a quack by a real homeopath, because it is basically and fundamentally wrong according to the homeopathic system. Similarly, if anyone asks you if there is a good remedy for headache, the real homeopath answers no. For stomachache, the answer is no. For arthros, the answer is no. Then what for is homeopathy? You have a true medicine for a person who is suffering from arthros, but you have no medicine at all for a disease called arthros. You have a true medicine for the person suffering from toothache, no medicine for toothache at all. This is the first basic fundamental principle of homeopathy. And the master warns us by opening up, saying that the only duty of the physician is to heal the sick. That means the sick person, and not at all a disease. You may feel that there is no difference between the two, but there is only what is called difference. There is no similarity. I tell you, Mr. X is having toothache. If you ask him how his toothache will be, if he makes a touch of cool water, he says, naturally very bad. Because when I am suffering from toothache, if I touch it with something ice cold, all the nerves from the ear and from the eyeball and from the nose, they pull back, quite natural. And then you ask him how your toothache will be if you touch a glass of hot coffee. He says, naturally very good, soothing. Because whenever there is toothache, if I touch with something hot, it will be very good. He feels that it is quite natural. There is another patient, Y, who comes to you having toothache. Offer him some coffee. No. How can a person suffering from toothache endure things warm? He says, if you can give some water from the fridge, I can keep the water for a few minutes on the tooth, and it will be very, very soothing. You ask him why. He says, it is quite natural. Oh, we have two naturals, one opposing the other. Therefore, we understand that the two are unnatural. Because to have toothache is unnatural. Therefore, we have two persons having unnatural dispositions. And a person who is not having toothache at all can be called natural. So, when the homeopath is asked to prescribe for the two persons, he should not look for the word toothache in the homeopathic dictionary. Then he will fail miserably. He should select a medicine where he finds this symbol, that is very soothing amelioration, by applying something cool, and then prescribe this medicine for the second level. And he should select, search for a medicine where the same symbol is given for something hot. So, if you can select a medicine which indicates that the patient is much better by applying something hot, then it suits the person, the first one who is having toothache. And the first remedy suits the second person having toothache. So, if you search for toothache, you will fail because you have not carried the first principle of homeopathy. This is because the fact is toothache is not a disease at all. It is the result of a disease which is there deeper in the person. No use of fighting with results and ultimates. This is the one principle which we have to take into consideration. So very important in homeopathy that it becomes the first and the last principle also to remember. The second basic principle, minimum medication. He is a real homeopath who believes in medicating a patient to the minimum required necessity. This is because we have two types of people who believe in cure. The one type of people believe that medicines cure diseases. The other set of people believe that medicine stimulates life force to cure itself. It makes all the difference. Then we believe in the first principle. Naturally, we believe in taking as many medicines as we feel required. If I do not sleep by 12 in the night, I take a tablet to sleep. If I sneeze, I take a tablet to suspend sneezing. If I feel psychological depression, I take a third dose for depression. If I feel a stress and strain of mind, I use stress tablets. If I have headache, there are headache tablets. Something for the ear, something for the eye, something for the nose, something for the throat, for the tongue, for the teeth, for the lips, and the delicate skin between tongue and lips, each having a specialist to examine and decide the medicine. So you have a doctor for the ear, another for the eye, another for the nose, another for the interior of the nose, another for to examine the beam of the nose. Like that, the Creator has created thousands and thousands of doctors for each limb to specialize. Each treats a part of your body, and the scientific truth is no one treats you. You are left to the mercy of God. Because from the viewpoint of the specialist, you are missing and your limbs are found. There is a little story of a guru and his 4 disciples. The disciples divided the various limbs of the guru to do service. One disciple was to look after the right leg, another the left leg, a third the right hand, a fourth the left hand. And the 2 disciples, one doing massage to the right leg and the other to the left leg, they differed upon a point and began to fight. And he said, the leg I am serving is very sacred. The other leg I will kick it. It is dirty. So the one disciple kicked the left leg. The other disciple kicked the right leg. And the poor guru had arthros. This is the fate of those who get treated by specialists. So, you are left to God and your limbs are taken care of. If there is varicose, there is a specialist who carefully removes the tube in the leg. His science exists in removing the vein artistically. And he calls it cure. So he will kick the right leg. If you too believe that medicines cure, you are doing great harm to your own constitution. All other systems, including homeopathy, teaches us, they teach us that medicines never cure diseases. What is it that is constructing your tissues daily, every minute and every second? You have to accept the existence of a peculiar dynamic force that is working in you, which the ancient and modern spiritual scientists called etheric body, or you can call it the subtler body. You can call it as the finer body, made up of some substance which is not matter, unless this force is working continuously in you, unless this force is continuously intelligent about you, unless this force knows something more accurate than what you know about yourself, unless this force knows something more than what you know, you have no reason to believe that your heart is beating while you are sleeping. You have no reason to attribute that your lungs are respiring as safely as they are doing while you are sleeping, as they are doing when you are awake. Even while you are awake, you are not taking care of your respiration. Something is taking care of your respiration. That something remembers every moment and every minute that you are to respire. If we are asked to take care of our respiration, we will forget about it within 5 or 6 minutes, because we are foolish to believe that there are more important things for us to do. And we begin to respond in the telephone to our friend. The mind goes to the friend. The respiration stops. The telephone drops from the hand. The body falls and the person dies. So, you have to accept that there is some intelligence, intelligent force that is taking care of you. It has many workers, band of workers working under its supervision. And we are blind to those intelligences that are working inside. Those intelligences know chemistry when we do not know it. They know what is oxygen and what is carbon dioxide. They make us inhale only oxygen and exhale only carbon dioxide, even when we do not know that a subject like a science like chemistry exists. Same thing with physics also. Before we know that the gravitational force exists, we are trained to stand without falling. And every animal has its own inner intelligence which makes it walk without falling against gravitational force. So we have every minute and every second salient proof that there is an intelligent force working in us for us. When we have our dinner at the table, discussing with our friends many things and forgetting about the materials we have taken during dinner, this intelligent force is taking care of everything we have eaten. It is demanding the production of the secretions that are required for the digestion, and it is demanding the movement of the nerves and the muscles in the alimentary canal. It is demanding the peristaltic action of the muscles, and it is taking a continuous care of what we have taken inside and conducting the process of metabolism and elimination. So, from foot to head, there is no part in you which is not taken care of the intelligent force that is working. It includes thousands and thousands of disciples, which we call intelligent forces, who attend to the various functions in you every minute and every second. And these millions and millions are called by the ancient scientists and the most modern scientists Devas. Of course, the various branches of modern science are not yet conversant with the dimension of the Deva kingdom. Modern scientific brain is just quite new to the dimension, and it is only about 100 years since this dimension is once again introduced to the world, because it was known by the ancient scientists many times and forgotten by the ancient scientists many times. This is because scientific ages are interrupted by unscientific ages through time. And whenever there is the advent of a scientific age, gradually man becomes aware of these things one by one. And again, when the unscientific centuries interlude, man becomes more and more selfish, though more and more civilized. And the result is nations fight against nations, countries fight against countries, and groups fight against groups. And the human being commits mass-scale suicide in the name of global war. This is part of the behavior of the animal which we call man. And however educated the human creature is, the human behavior cannot be changed. Just as no one can change the behavior of a pig or a dog, no one can change the behavior of the human animal also. The result is there will be unscientific centuries once again when man begins to develop after a global war, searching for truth and groping in darkness as the aboriginal man. And the present mankind has once again come into the horizon of science only 2.5 centuries ago. And we are used by the intelligences. Scientists begin to discover the intelligent force that is working in us. The masters of wisdom have once again introduced the functions of the etheric body about 2 centuries ago. And along with them, one wonderful master called Samuel Frederick Henneman has introduced the truth of the intelligent force that is working in us. Once again, he taught us that it is that force that is working in us. It is that force that is making the heart pulsate, the lungs respire, the alimentary canal eliminate, the metabolic system assimilate. And as long as the constitution is natural and normal, intelligent force does its functions naturally and normally. And it distributes the force equally in all the parts of the constitution. And for the facility of distributing it, we have the wires, which we call the electrical wires. You see how the wiring in your house distributes the electric current for the required purposes. How similar wires are used to distribute the power throughout the city and town with electricity, power stations and substations. We have the power stations and substations along with the important parts of the country, which we call the cerebrospinal system. And the wires are sent to every village and every nook and corner in the country, and we call them the nerves. Through these nerves, this intelligent force is being sent, and it is properly distributed to conduct its functions. And whenever there is something wrong, you find that there is an alarm signal. When you go to a big workshop or a laboratory or a big industry where there is involved mechanism, everything computerized. Suppose some worker has done something wrong in the office. He has connected one plug wrongly to another pin. Immediately you will find a red light and some sound alarm, so that your attention is attracted. There is something wrong going on, and that you are expected to attend. This intelligent force has arranged such centers everywhere in the body. So, when there is something wrong, immediately there is an alarm. Suppose while I am lecturing, I am excited and go into the astral plane, do my hands like this while explaining things. Suppose there is a pin just kept erect here on the table, and I do my hand against a pin like this. What happens if pain is not arranged in the constitution? I will allow the skin go away, and again I will do it. Again the skin is injured for a second time. By the end of the lecture, I may find the finger missing. So, this intelligent force, wonderfully intelligent, it immediately informs us when I bring the hand to the pin. There is a very painful prick when I bring it. What does that pain mean? It means the intelligent force is talking to me, saying, "Oh fool, there is a pin here." Like that, when there is fire going on, by mistake, if I put my hand like that, immediately there is a sensation, and though I am talking something very important to you, the force understands that I am a perfect idiot and asks the nerves to pull the hand away. It is what the poor psychologist calls reflex. He calls it subconscious activity because he is blind. In fact, it knows something which we do not know, and it protects us from being killed. Is it scientific to call it subconscious or supraconscious? If science were not to be against common sense and truth, the psychologist should call the reflexes supraconscious phenomena and not at all subconscious. So, there are thousands and thousands of supraconscious phenomena working in us. They know about us more than what we know. Instantaneously they come to know. Suppose when I slip on the street, when I fall forward, these forces bring the hands like this before I understand that I am falling. What happens if they are to consult us before they bring the hand like this? The result is a bad fracture, and everything is too late because they are to consult the idiot every day. So they are arranged in such a way that they have no necessity at all to consult the idiot. The father of homeopathy has pointed out something wonderful about this intelligent force. He called it vital force and also the vital dynamics. The ancient scientists called it etheric force. And since we have a body made up of the etheric force that exists on the plane of the nuclear kingdom, and since it it knows more about our shape and our activity. It is careful to bring the material of our food and drink to fill into the shape of our body. Otherwise, it would have been a lump of food materials, just as we see some beef placed in the fridge. So, if we want to say hello, we have no hands, we are only a lump of beef. But it remembers our shape. It remembers the shape of every nerve in us and every blood vessel and the chemistry of the liquid of blood, so that the flow of blood is conducted. So, this is the second proposition of homeopathy. Then the third proposition is, what happens when there is something wrong in the constitution? What does this intelligent activity does? In what way it warns us? In what way it indicates immediately, instantaneously that there is something wrong? The answer is what we call pain. Many people question why God produced pain. God never produced pain. God made creation. Man produced pain to himself. Unless I hit my hand against the table, there is no pain. What is the use of my hitting the hand against the table and asking each of you why God produced pain? What does he mean by it? He only means that we should not hit hand at the table. For this reason, he has given us another great weapon, great light, which we call common sense. When we use common sense, we don't hit our hand at the table. But unfortunately, we do not use it so commonly as we have to use. That's why Helena Blavatsky remarks in a humorous way that it is wrongly called common sense because it is rarely used. We can call it common sense when we use it commonly. When we use it rarely, we should call it rare sense. That is what she remarks about common sense. But God expects us to use it because He has given us common sense free of cost. It is a free gift given to us, and He is happy when we use it. So, what is the meaning of pain? The meaning of pain is to indicate that we have done something wrong. We have hit the hand against the table. We have misbehaved with something. It may be with food, drink, sleep, work, sex, or intelligence. Any intelligence. That then we have pain to indicate not to continue the same misbehavior. But the poor fellow, the human being, believes that pain is to punish, because the human creature has the habit of punishing one another. He understands nature also in his own foolish and idiotic way, because man cannot understand things more than what a man can understand. Since man believes in punishing, man believes that nature punishes, and also God punishes. It is the awful psychological limitation and ignorance of the human being to believe that God is a devil to punish us. If at all there is a God, He is making us breathe. He is making our heart pulsate. Unless we propose to believe that we are making our heart work. If you ask me, who is making your heart work? I may answer, a cardiologist is taking care of my heart. That means I am a perfect idiot. So, there is immediately pain, which is the result of misbehavior. The functions are distorted or disturbed. Before that, the functions are natural. So, if you want to treat a patient homeopathically, what you have to study is not the names of diseases. Suppose a person like Krishnamacharya comes to you and you can ask, what do you suffer from? What is your trouble? The fellow answers, I am having appendicitis. Note down on the paper. And then you can ask, next, what is your trouble? He says, angina. What more? He says, tonsillitis. What more? He says, hemorrhoids. What more? He says, my liver is very bad. You got an information for a full page which is as useless as anything. Not even a single line of this information is useful to you as a homeopath. Because when you ask for information, he has given you the names of diseases, which are false. If you take a radiography of the internal parts of the body, do you find the name appendicitis in the photograph? Or the liver trouble? Or tonsillitis? It is all some technical nonsense which we use. What is required by a homeopathy is the distortions of natural functions. You are expected to observe the patient in a double way. One is you should allow him to speak and listen to it.
Okay.
But at the same time, you should listen to how he speaks and how he behaves and how he talks. So what he speaks is a part of the report. How he speaks is the more important part of the report. How he smiles and what points he gets irritated and when he is restless. By talking what he is angry and by narrating what type of incidents he goes into weeping and sobbing. This is the information you require. What does this indicate? Understand this as the screen of a cinema or a TV where you find the number of distortions in his behavior. And then what is your next purpose? It is not to break the TV, because this is not the patient. There is the satellite there, or the transmitting station of TV, where you have to consult and suggest to them to produce a more sensible news and cinema. So when the patient says he has pain here, it is not your business to give him some medicine to kill the pain. If he says he is constipated, it's not your purpose to give him some wonderful purgative. That is what exactly I mean by breaking the TV. An insane person was asked to engage himself at the TV, and he saw in the cinema two people fighting with swords. Immediately he took a chair and broke the TV. And the reason was, he said, the fellows are fighting, I had to kill them. That is what is called the process of pain killing in medicine. The system of producing pain is very pious. It is only to indicate that there is something wrong. What happens if you use medicine to kill the pain? Hahnemann questions us about this point. When you are in a big fortress, as scientifically built as the human constitution, and when you are appointed as the ruler of the kingdom, suppose there are messengers to bring you message that enemies are entering into the fortress. Suppose you do not allow them to speak, you shut their mouth and kill them and throw them away. Kill the messengers. What happens? The same thing happens to the fellow who kills the pain when there is disease. You are killing the messenger and you will be killed by the enemy. So such a process for 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, daily using medicines against headache, toothache, stomachache, etc., leads directly to the grave in the name of cancer or some mysterious disease which could not be diagnosed. The incurable state occurs at the end of 10 years or 15 years or 20 years of such wrong treatment, daily using medicines to kill our troubles. And when the incurable state comes to us, we are unscientific enough to call it an incurable disease. What comes last is not a disease, but it is one of the forms of the incurable condition, which we unscientifically call by the name of one disease. For example, cancer or gangrene or ascites, that is hydrothorax. Even though we name the diseases, they are not diseases, but they are the incurable stages at the end of a continuous default action of medicine. Suppose there is a dead body, a person is dead, and someone asks why he does not speak. If I say that he is suffering from a disease called, is it true? I may call it a disease, but he is gone. Something has happened after which we cannot do anything back. That is what we call diseases like cancer or gangrene or hydrothorax. So, the next basic principle Hahnemann gives us is study the patient not only according to what he complains, but more importantly about how he complains and what things he remembers and what things he ignores. How he speaks today, how he was speaking 10 years ago if you know him, how he sleeps during the present months, how he was sleeping previously, and how he responds to the emotional talks and conversations, how he was responding previously, and temperamentally how he is now, and how he was previously temperamentally. What is the difference and what is the distortion in the temperament? If you know the fellow for 10 years or 20 years, you can make an estimate of these things. Otherwise, you can consult the wife or son or brother or father so that you may gather the information of how he was and how he is. That is the guess taking you are expected to do. And this gives you a real clue to understand how to help him cure himself. That is, how to use the agency of medicinal substance in its minimum possible dose, enough to encourage his intelligent force working in him, enough to give a prop and a fillip and give a hand to the force that is struggling against the disorder in the body. Immediately the intelligent force picks up, does what it can do on a permanent basis, because it is not the medicine that is curing, but it is the same force which was protecting and making his organs function hitherto. Now you are consulting the same force with medicine, and you are giving due respect and proper importance to the gentleman who is living inside, and asking him with a medicine, can I do something for you? Instead of throwing medicines like stones against the fellow who is living inside. So, this is another basic principle even in homeopathy. There are many basic principles that are wonderful, but the time allotted is limited. In fact, it is a subject for a continuous 2 months course. In India, I gather few people from the villages during the vacation seasons, teach them the basic principles of homeopathy for 2 months, and then I permit them to work in our clinics for 1 year, and after 1 year, once again, I will take a 2 months advanced course, and then allow them to go into the villages and open their own centers, where they stimulate the inhabitants of the villages to form their own center and develop into their own clinic. And like that, there are more than 126 big clinics working since 15 years till today. So, one more basic principle I will find out before the stipulated time is finished. I will give you the reason why the system is called homeopathy. When you are having high temperature, the body is hot. Then if you apply ice, the body becomes cold, a little bit less of temperature. If the body is cold and lacking in temperature, you apply hot water bag, cover him with rugs. The temperature is raised by 1 degree or 2 degrees. This is one method of treatment. This is what is called antipathy. When it is cold, apply heat and fight out cold. When you are in South Africa or South India, when it is too hot, apply cold and fight out heat. This is the method. When you are having acidity, too much of acids, select chemicals that counteract acids and make medicines called anti-acids. Eat, and the acidity will go away. This is one method, and we are using this method at least for about 300 years. People suffer from constipation. They take laxatives, and it is okay the next day. Again the third day they are constipated. Fourth day, once again the purgative is taken. So every alternate day the purgative is taken. The constipation is cured not to the patient but to the pharmacist who has prepared the medicine, because he is sure that you have to purchase lifelong. You see, you are medicine addicted and you are doctor addicted. So the doctor is sure of your addiction. The pharmacist is sure of your getting immune to the medicine. And luckily to the doctor and pharmacist, there comes a day when you have to take the laxative daily. So the pharmacist is more lucky. He is cured more and more. And after some time you have to take 2 tablets instead of 1. That means the pharmacist is cured more. This is the result of antipathy. Why? There are the basic differences between a living organism and a non-living object, which we basically fail to notice. The one thing, non-living, and the other living or biological being. When it is cold, if you touch a metallic substance, it is cold. When it is, but it is the opposite in the case of a living being or biological organism. When it is cold outside, your body is hotter than what it was normally. When it is too hot outside, your body produces perspiration. It is colder than what it was normally. Understand the fundamental difference? The environment affects the non-living body. Has no mistakes in feeding the information to the computers. In the case of the human brain, there may be mistakes. When we feed a machine wrongly, we get the results in an awful way. Here, the machines are not fed with mistakes. The information is uncanny, having uncanny precision. No mistake at all. Because it is not only mechanical, but also intelligent. The force and intelligence put together make only one unit, and that gives the unfailing reaction. When there is something wrong inside, the intelligent force appoints agents to stop the traffic in the street, and then they begin to work with the road. And the result is, you don't feel like eating at all. The appetite is automatically stopped. That is what they do. They stop the traffic. They don't allow you to feel like eating. Otherwise, we will eat and we die. We do not properly understand the language of the devas who are working inside. We say there is no appetite and we call it a disease. And we use medicines against the present condition, and the result is antibiotic treatment. And we are killed with medicines. So Dr. Hahnemann asks us not to take the action of the environment into consideration. Take the reaction of your constitution to any substance into consideration and make a special study of the reactions towards various substances. As long as the substance is welcome into the constitution, there is no reaction. The moment the substance is something which is not desirable, immediately the intelligent force reaction kicks it out. For example, when something poisonous is eaten, you find immediately vomitings, vertigo, and foaming and frothing in the mouth, which are foolishly understood as the effects of the poison. They are not the effects of the poison, but they are the effects of the reaction of the vital force against the poison. It fights and fights against the poison. Power of the poison is more, we die. But when the power of the poison is less and the power of the intelligent force working is more, we survive and drive out the effects of the poison. Dr. Hahnemann asks us to take a notice of this strange phenomenon which we call reaction, and administer something desirable, there is no reaction. Administer something poisonous, immediately there is reaction. So substances are divided into 2 groups. One is the nutritive or welcome substances into the metabolism, which we call foods. the vitamins, the proteins, etc. And the second group is non-nutritive substances, which are not at all welcome by the intelligent force inside. These substances are called poisons, against which there will be a violent reaction from the constitution unfailingly. And when the quantity of poison is more than the capacity of your intelligent force working in you, the result is death by poisoning after a tough fight. But when the poison is negligible, the result is a success after a tough fight. But however, the constitution produces some wonderful reactions during the fight, by which you can understand that there is something undesirable taken in you. Right. Now, Hanuman advises us to study the reaction of the constitution to each of these poisons by eating each poison independently in a very, very, very minute dose, and examine the reaction of the human constitution against each poison. Of course, he never asked all of us to do it. He has himself done upon his constitution many poisons and made a wonderful catalogue and a list of the group of abnormalities produced by each poison. And he made us understand that these abnormalities belong to the intelligent force and not the poison. And against each poison, a particular group of abnormalities in behavior are produced. And as long as the poison is the same, the group of abnormalities produced is always the same. Conversely, when you study the group of abnormalities, you will understand that the poison is a particular substance. And then use this poison as medicine. When anyone is having the same group of abnormalities in him, without introducing that particular poison in his constitution. I repeat once again, when a person is having 100 abnormalities in his constitution, for example, anxiety, violence, irritability, nervousness, depression, apprehensiveness, perspiration, shivering, nervousness, lack of appetite, you make a note of all these things. Make a total and study the list of the poisons that are tried upon the human constitution. Select that particular poison which had produced the same group of abnormalities. Take the minimum dose of that poison and apply it to that particular patient who is showing that particular group of abnormalities without that poison. He was not poisoned by that medicine, but he is showing that group of abnormalities. Now apply that medicine to him, and wonderfully he will be cured. His disease is not cured, but he will be cured. And the result is there will be no disease after the treatment. This is what is called the law of similars. That means substances that produce abnormalities in the constitution work as curatives in the persons who are suffering with the similar abnormalities of the same group. So, when the sufferings in the patient are similar to the sufferings produced by the medicine, that medicine cures that patient when we know the dosage and the method to use it. This is what is called the law of similars. On the face of it, it may appear stupid and idiotic. When we notice the difference between the living and non-living constitutions, we will understand why it is so. The reason is like this. The abnormalities produced in the constitution of the patient form the TV part of it, television. That is, the exhibition part of it, not the car. This has a car in the TV transmitting station. The car exists in the TV office. The results are manifest in the TV in your house. And you should find some influential, intelligent person who knows the TV fellows in Geneva, you should be able to send him to the office and suggest and influence the highest officers in the television to produce more educational and more cultural programs. So, don't tackle the TB and break it. If you administer medicines to cure diseases, you are throwing stones at the TB. But you are introducing a medicine in the TB office. That is the etheric body of the person, which Hahnemann calls the vital body. And then it produces another picture on the TV, which has exactly the similar program, similar to that of what the patient was having previously. Then what happens? Then the farmer will be absorbed into the second disease which you have produced. And then, since you have introduced very little poison traces, which is automatically eliminated from the constitution, the disease produced by the medicine disappears within no time. So, the second disease produced by you, which is producing similar group of symptoms in the patient, it makes the previous disease part of itself. And then the disease spot in the TV office, that is the disease cause in the vital body or etheric body, receives an alarm that there are enemies in the city. A new enemy has entered into the constitution and the vital force is awakened against the enemy. The auto healing centers work with wonderful awareness and they remove the disease produced by you with the medicine. Previously, they were not careful enough to drive out the disease already existing. Now, they are roused against any enemy in the city, they will remove the existing enemy also, along with the new enemy you have introduced into the constitution. Of course, this is only in short what happens. There is much to explain. What is most interesting in this respect is, you should get a doubt and you should ask me, suppose if the enemy kills the patient, if the medicine introduced by us kills the patient, what happens? Because knowingly we are introducing a poison into the constitution. And what happens if the poison acts against the constitution also along with the disease? Now the answer is, you are not introducing the poison into the constitution, but you are introducing the photograph and the name and address of the enemy without the person, and make a proclamation in the paper that the enemy is in the city working against the people. Because what you do in homeopathy is, you take a poison in a powder called sugar of milk. One drop of medicine in this much of sugar of milk. Pulverize it many times. Take a little 1 grain of it and add it to 9 grains of distilled water. And then take 1 grain of the total mixture, add it to 9 grains of distilled water separately. Again take 1 gram of it, 1 grain of it. If you do it like that 3 times, it is called medicine of 3x or 3k. We use medicines in 3x, 6x, 12x, 30x. Or if you want a deeper action on the vital body, you add 1 ml of the medicine, milliliter of the medicine, not 9 but 99 milliliters of water. Then take 1 milliliter, again add to 99. Like that, if you repeat, if you do it 6 times, it is called 6C or 6th dilution of centesimal scale. This is decimal scale and this is called centesimal scale. If you do it 30 times, it is called 30C. If you do 200 times, it is called 200C. This is